Welcome to our webinar, Finding Research Opportunities, Cold Emails and Beyond, Spring 2026, the Collegiate Council.
There are two speakers today. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Sarah Kaufman, and I'm a biomedical engineering junior at Johns Hopkins University.
And my name is Mira Varadachari, and I am a third-year student at Rutgers University, majoring in biomedical engineering. So, about our research. I'm an undergraduate research assistant in the Sensory Motor Integration Lab in the Rutgers Department of Psychology under Dr. Elizabeth Torres, where I research the effects of cerebral palsy and autism on motor movement and development.
I'm also an undergraduate research at Johns Hopkins, where I work in two labs. One of them is the Kim lab. We're a microphysiological system fabrication group. So there I'm working on an artery on chip device that has strain control for cell orientation. And then my other research is focused on stem cell biology, where I'm working on differentiating a new type of earlier version of stem cell, more powerful version of stem cell, into cardiomyocytes, so into heart cells.
So these research experiences all began with a cold email.
So for anyone transitioning to research in a collegiate environment from high school, the system looks a little bit different. In high school, you usually have a shorter time frame where you have these one-year projects that culminate in a science fair style presentation, whereas once you get into college, the time frame is a lot longer. It takes a much longer time to develop the level of work that's happening usually in these collegiate labs, these university teaching and learning labs. And then instead of science fairs where you're usually competing for prizes, the presentation environment seems to be a lot more collaborative. So, I mean, there might still be prizes, but the goal when going to these events isn't necessarily to win, it's to share your research and to exchange ideas with other presenters about how you can improve each other's projects and kind of what the next steps can look like. The mentorship style is also a little bit different. At least in high school, you usually have a teacher who is walking you through every part of your research. But once you get into college, there isn't any one person necessarily who is going to be there to show you how to get a research project, how to go through it. Instead, it's going to be on you to find a laboratory that you're interested in, and sometimes even on you to find a mentor within that laboratory who can help you complete a project either of your choice or a project that is assigned to you. So especially once you get into college, being able to cold email to find your own opportunities and to make those introductions on your own becomes really, really important. I'm trying to change the slide. Let me know if, there we go.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you what cold emailing is. Cold emailing is when you send an unsolicited email to a faculty or a professional without a mutual connection with the goal of expanding your network or starting a business. In regards to research, you write an email to a professor expressing your interest in working in their lab and any projects they are working on. So how do you find a project that you're interested in? First, narrow down a specific field that you are interested in. For example, if you're interested in neuroscience, you can search for a neuroscience laboratory at Rutgers University. Or if you're interested in clinical psychology, you can search clinical psychology laboratory at Rutgers University, and you might see the Hamilton lab as being one of the labs there. And you can see that as one of the images there, the Hamilton lab, the lab where it begins. You can also search for departmental websites and explore what labs there are. You can find out what projects there are and what projects the professor is working on in the lab and reach out to them via email and connect. You can also connect with professors in office hours and in class. If they have any research opportunity, you can also reach out to your undergraduate advisor to see if they have any research opportunities or know of any by any chance. You can also attend talks, conferences, and poster events to receive more and more opportunities. Clubs and honor societies is also a good way to find research that interests you because some of them may offer you a research opportunity and they may also host workshops on building your resume or how to create an elevator pitch, etc. And they may even host something about research and it could really help you in your research journey. Okay, so how do you send a good cold email? First, you have to read the lab website and see the research. As you draft your email, share your skills and experiences and mention that you read the professor's work and what intrigued you because it shows that you acknowledge their work. You can also meet up with the primary investigator, PI, to discuss your involvement further and what responsibilities you would have to tend to. You also need to attach your resume. The resume should be one page of your education and experiences, while the CV should contain more details about your experiences. And if you don't hear back from your professor, don't be afraid to follow up after a few weeks. And sometimes you may have to follow up multiple times because often professors are busy and they're probably receiving an overwhelming amount of interest in their lab.
So, finding research through your university isn't necessarily the only option to get involved. There are a lot of summer programs where you can go out to different institutions or even different companies to go research with them. And a lot of these are called REUs, or research experiences for undergraduates, at least in the US. These are often government funded. There are other government sponsored opportunities, including things that happen abroad, and then college specific summer research internships. I know at Hopkins we have something called the Bloomberg Distinguished Professor Program, where you can go work under a specific selected professor who can guide you for that summer. There are also laboratory-based classes where you can learn some of the basic skills to make yourself a better candidate for going to work in a lab. So for example, at Hopkins, I'm currently taking a cell and tissue and culture class that's teaching us the skills that I actually use in my lab every day. So the other students in there who aren't used to using these skills are gaining them, and then this way when they go to apply to a lab, they'll be able to list on their resume or on their CV, hey, I already know how to culture cells, how to passage cells, so on and so forth. When you're taking these classes, a lot of the professors, again, as Mira mentioned, are actually PIs at their own labs. So it's definitely worth talking to them, asking if there are any lab openings in their own departments or in the departments that they work with. You can also get on some pretty great mailing lists and school-based opportunities and applications. At least at Hopkins, there's a fellowships program that sends out a list, this heaping list of fellowships that you can apply to pretty much every month. Or more often. So there are a lot of summer research opportunities or even school year research opportunities that come on through there. A lot of research opportunities coming in through major specific mailing lists. So really keeping in touch with what's going on at your school can help you find research where you are. We wanted to come up with a quick activity right now for those of you tuning in live. So go ahead and practice writing a cold email. The prompt here for that is that you're applying to a candy making laboratory at Sugarville College. This is made up and run by a hypothetical Dr. Gingerbread. The lab's projects include designing a chocolate that doesn't melt, a chewing gum that is made from healthy alternatives to synthetic polymers, and regenerative rock candy. So let's go ahead and take a few minutes. It's what, 6:41 right now? We can take maybe 5 minutes and then come back on screen. And if anyone's open to sharing the cold email that they wrote, we can go around and then we also have an example here with us. So we'll take maybe 2 or 3 minutes and then see where everyone stands.
I can
Okay,
share mine if you'd like.
that'd be awesome.
Okay, so mine says, Dear Dr. Bread, my name is Alexis Anderson, and I'm writing to express my interest in joining your candy making laboratory at Sugarville College. I am really excited to learn about your projects, especially your work on creating chocolate that doesn't melt and developing chewing gum using healthier alternatives. I'm very interested in research and would love the opportunity to contribute your lab while gaining hands-on experience. If you're currently accepting students, I would appreciate the chance to talk more about potential opportunities.
That
That's
is a
mine.
That's really good.
Thank you.
That's a wonderful cold email. I love that you showed evidence of having looked into Dr. Bread's work. by referencing the research that he does. I love that you tried to set up a meeting, that you introduced yourself very clearly. All of that was really great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you also expressed your desire to contribute and gain hands-on experience. And that's something the professor would really appreciate.
Definitely. So here's a sample that I had actually written, and it does sound very similar to what Alexis shared with us. I introduced myself first, starting off with my major, and that kind of gives the professor an idea of why I might want to work in the lab, if my also of my background, to see if the work that I do is relevant for what he's currently working on. I share how I found the laboratory, and then based on the papers that I read, what I think is really cool and what I'd like to contribute to. I talk a little bit about my experience, and then share a little bit about why I think I would be a good fit. And then I end with an offer to meet, and then I also share my resume below, just again so you can see my current experience and what skill set I could bring to the lab. Here are acknowledgements for some of the photos that we used, and then if anyone has any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, say them out loud, or you can also find more information on how to cold email at the website below, Parse cold email. Mira, I actually have a question for you.
Yeah?
When you sent your first cold email, did you get a response back right away, or how did you get a response out of the professor that you were trying to reach out to?
So, I had to keep trying and trying and trying until I got a yes from a professor. So, I explored other departments in Rutgers and other labs in Rutgers beyond biomedical engineering because there are various disciplines within the field. And psychology is one of the fields I'm interested in, and I want to incorporate that into biomedical engineering. So I searched on the the Department of Psychology website to see if they are looking for undergraduate research assistants. And I found out that Dr. Elizabeth Torres is looking for students, and I reached out to her. I shared my resume, and she wanted to have me because she saw in my resume that I worked with a kid with cerebral palsy. Well, that is, I modified a ride-on car for a child with cerebral palsy.
That's really awesome. And I have one more question for you, if you don't mind. As a student researcher, what experience that you've had has felt the most rewarding for you? And what would you kind of tell students who are in these shoes that they have to look forward to?
Well, just expanding my knowledge of psychology and disabilities and how it can connect to my major was really rewarding, and gaining some skills and software and data collection was very rewarding. And that's something students should really look forward to. The kinds of skills that you'll gain, like software skills, like you might gain some skills in programming, Excel, etc. And you may even gain some wet lab skills if you're going to work in labs like pipetting, which is something I think what you do, Sarah, right?
Yeah, I do a lot of pipetting up and down, back and forth. But there's a lot of math that goes into it, and I get to pipette some pretty cool substances, proteins, and whatnot. I think as
Yeah.
a student researcher, I really love contributing to knowledge that hasn't been formed yet, and I love being at that forefront of discovery. It's a really cool place to be. Very lucky to be there.
Yeah.
I have a
I had,
question for you guys. Is that okay?
yeah, sure.
Do you guys have any suggestions on like what your subject line should be? Like how are you getting people's attention? So, like what's worked for you, what hasn't worked? Do you change it up? You know?
So for my cold emails, I titled it Interest in Blank Lab, well, whatever the lab is called, so
That's a
that
really
they'll know that I'm interested in their lab if they have any openings by any chance.
So just very like short and sweet and direct, you think?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
definitely